In this video, we will be analyzing the movie Remember the Titans. We will be exploring the relationship between educational history and laws to current educational practices, the role of ethics and dispositions in educational issues. This presentation was done for Professor Pennington, EDCI 2210-203. At the beginning of the movie, Remember the Titans, it is pointed out that schools are being integrated. The historical background in the integration is the overturning of the Supreme Court, Plessy v. Ferguson, in which separate but equal was declared constitutional by the Supreme Court Promises Board of Education of Topeka, Kansas, which declared separate but equal unconstitutional. During the 19th century and the start of the 20th century, schools had been separated by race and law, but endured segregation. Since the overturning of Plessy v. Ferguson and making integration constitutional, education has become more successfully diverse. Classes now have students of various races and ethnicities, integrated in schools with less racial prejudice and de facto segregation. Thus, the overturning of the laws greatly impacted the history of the country's educational system since the 20th century until now.
In the film, the gender segregation has been overturned, and it is seen at the beginning when students are being moved and integrated to schools to allow more diversity to prosper amongst them. However, once the football players go away to the camp, they assume a relationship that is more of de facto segregation, as they prefer to speak only to those of the same race as their own. Coach Boone does not allow the separation amongst the students to last long, since he imposes the students to work together and play together. The players were obliged to share rooms and eat lunch integrated, so they would interact more and learn from each other. This impacted their education because the students learned to depend on each other to help them succeed. They had strategies that built up the strength of the team when they made an effort to get along with each other. Another contributing factor to the acceptance of integration was the winning streak of the team. By combining the players and both coaches' efforts, they led the school to a state championship, and the students were accepted by society because they brought pride to their school and city. Their collaboration impacted the nation historically because the tension between the different races and ethnicities was reducing, as the students were constantly in each other's company and they learned to respect each other.
And Remember the Titans, one of the main ethics that stood out would be the idea of fairness. At the beginning of the movie, the students of both races wanted to have a fair opportunity of joining the football team, but the differences in races created a huge barrier. They would give each other the cold shoulder and would stick to the players of their own kind, denying the others of having any opportunity. As the movie developed, the athletes attended a camp where they realized that although they were different races in the team members, they all had the same goal in mind, which was to be part of the team and play American football. Not only were the players affected by the barrier, but so were the coaches. Exhibiting altruism was a hard task for them to achieve, but they developed it during the movie. Although Remember the Titans, it was white athletes not wanting to be involved with black athletes. The same scenario can still be seen in Holly If You Hear Me. Even though Mitch's classroom does not involve students from African American descent, they do show the unfairness that they experience as Mexican Americans from white peers. The students were asked to describe in their own words what they would consider a white person to be. They stated that white people tend to hate other races and people of color. They also considered them to be racist and goal achievers, as well as being of rich status. This can be seen in Remember the Titans, where the white players wanted to keep their starting positions in the football team and wanted to bench all the African American athletes during the whole season.
In the movie Remember the Titans, we can see a clear ripple effect of Brown versus Board of Education and of the end of segregation by law. We must remember that the movie plots around African American students trying to be integrated into a high school that was only occupied by white students only. In the movie, there are many types of discriminatory actions taken against the African American students. However, one of the ones that stuck out was de facto segregation. De facto segregation is when a person from a particular race separates himself from another race without the law having to say they have to do it. One example of this is when Julius Capel comes out of his bus to meet one of his fellow football teammates and is greeted with a girlfriend. However, she does not take the greeting as it was expected. She decides to ignore his existence and walk away. This, of course, was not a separate incident, and it was not the highest incident that could have had happened. During the movie, they are faced with a lot of harshness and a lot of the feeling of being unwelcomed, not only by students, but by administration and by parents that were protesting outside the school. This creates a very unwelcoming environment and a very hard environment for them to learn. However, this movie sets a great example because at the time and place in which this real story was taking place, there was a lot of resistance across the country because they did not want students from different races mixing into the same schools. This created an example that not only were we able to join African American students and white students, but it also created hope so that we can see that we can integrate all races into one school.
In Remembering the Tidings, two examples of education issues are discrimination and lack of communication. Discrimination is when the football team and school has integrated diversity. It causes some people to discriminate and react in anger to new students. One example is when Julius responded with anger when he felt that he was being discriminated and slacked off on making an effort for the team because he didn't see no change in behavior of his teammates to accept their situation. Another discrimination example was when Ray was kicked out of the team for not accepting his teammates. The issue of lack of communication always led to disagreements and arguments. For example, the coaches were not able to work together at the beginning, leading the team to slow or not make progress. Also, Jerry and Julius, being the leaders of the team, were not providing a good example to their teammates. However, their differences escalated to the point where they agreed to make an effort for the team, talking honestly and making a change. In the article, talking about the benefits of teamwork in sports, explain how teamwork, communication, and cooperating towards a common goal in sports can build character, friendship, and important life skills. This can be seen in the movie when the team works together to win the championship.